All right, let's dive in. If you're looking at the 2026 tech interview scene and just feeling completely overwhelmed, you've come to the right place. This is your blueprint. We're going to cut through all the noise and give you a laser-focused strategic plan to absolutely crush those technical rounds. Let's get to it. Seriously, does it feel like you're drowning in advice? You've got countless articles, endless YouTube videos, 1,000 different must-do problem lists. It's enough to give you a serious case of prep anxiety before you even write a single line of code. Well, we're here to fix that.
I love this quote from the creator of the famous Blind 75 list because it's so honest, right? It basically says, look, this whole process can feel like a game with rules you didn't even make up. And that's exactly the mindset we're taking today. We're going to give you the strategy guide to win this thing.
So this really boils down to two paths you can take. The exhaustive prep route, where you try to memorize the entire internet, or the smart prep route. We're going with smart prep. In the next few minutes, we're going to lay out the entire game plan. First, we'll understand the new interview reality. Then we'll build a strategic prep plan, zero in on the most critical topics, and wrap up with some killer tactics for game day.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about what's fundamentally changed. Because cracking an interview in 2026 isn't just about spitting out the right answer anymore. The way you're being evaluated has shifted, and knowing this is your first big advantage.
This table just hits the nail on the head. You might be completely obsessed with getting that final correct answer, but the interviewer, they're watching something totally different. They're grading your thought process. How clean and organized is your code? Do you actually ask questions to understand the problem, or do you just dive in head first? Believe me, your communication skills are being graded just as heavily as your final solution.
So, if the game is different, how do we train for it? Well, the answer isn't just grinding harder. It's about efficiency and focus, not brute force. So let's build out that strategic blueprint.
Your entire preparation should be built on these 4 pillars. First up, solid CS fundamentals. That's just non-negotiable. Second, pick one language, C++, Java, Python, whatever, and go deep. And I mean really master it. Especially its built-in toolkits like the standard template library or the collections framework. Those are your secret weapons. Third, and this is key, focus on data structure and algorithm patterns, not just random problems. And finally, you gotta have a real project you can talk about inside and out.
And now for a huge sigh of relief. You do not need to solve 500 or 1,000 lead code problems. No way. The payoff totally drops off after a certain point. If you focus on about 150 really high-quality problems from a curated list, you'll internalize the core patterns that solve like 90% of everything you're ever going to see in an interview. Quality over quantity, always.
Okay, you need a project for your resume like yesterday? Here's the cheat code. It's so simple. Find a great high-quality course on a site like Udemy in a hot field like web development. Build the project right along with the instructor. But, and this is the critical part, you have to add your own unique features. That's what turns it from just another tutorial project into your project. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. If you have limited time, what do you absolutely positively have to know? This isn't about covering an entire college syllabus. This is about packing an interview survival kit with the topics that give you the biggest bang for your buck.
So, inside that survival kit, here are the essentials. The absolute foundation is mastering arrays, strings, and linked lists. From there, you have to be fluent in getting around trees and graphs using both breadth-first and depth-first search. And finally, your high-impact power tools are binary search, heaps, which are really just fancy priority queues, and backtracking, especially with memoization, which is a simple way of saying you store results so you don't have to calculate the same thing over and over.
Now, beyond the coding problems, interviewers are going to do a quick fundamentals check. You don't need to be a world-class expert here, but you absolutely need a solid grasp of the most common interview questions for operating systems, databases in SQL, computer networks, and the main ideas of object-oriented programming.
Okay, you've put in the work, you've done the prep, now it's game day. You know, the difference between a good candidate and a great one often just comes down to a few smart moves during the interview itself. I'm telling you, this is the single biggest hack you can use. Just assume every single question they ask you is vague on purpose. Because it probably is. They want to see if you'll just make a bunch of assumptions and rush in. Your first move, always, should be to ask clarifying questions. What are the limits on the input? How should I handle weird edge cases? Doing this instantly shows you're a careful, methodical thinker. It's a huge positive signal.
And for those tell me about a time when questions, please don't just ramble, use the STAR method. It's so easy. Briefly describe the situation, explain the task you were responsible for, detail the specific action you took, and then most importantly, share the results of what you did. It's a simple recipe for telling a really compelling and structured story.
So you're in the interview. They give you a problem and nothing. Your mind is completely blank. It's the moment every single candidate dreads. What on earth do you do? Okay, your first instinct is probably to panic. That's the one thing you absolutely cannot do. Instead, just take a deep breath. It is perfectly fine to say, wow, that's a great question. Can I just take a moment to think about that? Then start talking through what you do know, even if it's just a small piece of the puzzle. This changes the narrative from I'm stuck and I'm failing to here's how I approach a really tough problem. You're turning a negative into a huge positive.
And hey, don't forget the format of the interview totally changes the game. If it's online, test your camera and mic beforehand. Lock yourself in a quiet room and remember to look at the camera, not just your screen. For an in-person interview, all the classic advice still holds. Get there early, I'm talking 30 minutes early. Dress professionally and use confident, engaged body language.
Okay, now for the ultimate stress test. You get that email. The interview is in 2 days. Panic sets in. What do? There's no time to learn anything new. This is all about smart, targeted revision and getting your head in the right space. This is your 48-hour sprint plan. With 48 hours to go, quickly scan problems that are tagged for that specific company online. Then, at the 24-hour mark, your only goal is to refresh your muscle memory. Just redo about 10 core pattern problems. 12 hours out, stop coding. It's all about polishing your project stories and your tell me about yourself pitch. And then, the most important step. 1 hour before, shut the laptop. Stop studying. At this point, a clear head and confidence are way more valuable than last-minute cramming.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all. An interview is not just a technical exam. It's an audition to be someone's teammate. Your ability to communicate clearly, to collaborate, to handle pressure with a cool head, that's what truly shows them you'll be an amazing person to work with. And that is the mindset that will set you apart. Go get 'em.